have muted everybody, but when we get to the questions and answers, I will unmute people. But for now, I've muted everybody. All right, so let's get going here. I'm going to spend a little bit of time with a very short PowerPoint, but I wanted to just do some housekeeping for those of you that aren't familiar with GoToMeeting. Typically here in the top right-hand corner, you have this control panel. If you go to these two little arrows here and click, that will minimize that. And if you click on those two little arrows there again, it will bring this up again. At the end, when we have question and answers, I will unmute everybody. But if you're still muted on this button here, you can click that to unmute yourself, and then you can ask a question. Also, on the right-hand side of your screen here, there's another little toolbar. I've made it a little bit bigger so you can see it. If you click on the plus, you'll zoom in and you'll be able to read things a little more clearly. And if you click on the minus, it zooms out a little, so you'll be able to get like a more full picture of things. And then this bottom button here, if you click on that, it'll make the presenters, the pictures, the camera view of the presenters in the top get a little smaller, and minimize that, and so you can have more real estate down here. All right, so let's jump into the presentation. For those of you that have attended our last presentation, this will be a little bit of a repeat, the beginning part, but there are some new people on, so I'm just going to repeat this piece of it again. Pro Technology, we're headquartered in the LA area, but we do have offices, people, and partners all around the country. We're known as document automation specialists. And what does that mean? We're experts in electronic forms and document automation and improving the efficiency and the processes around those documents. And to deliver these solutions, we've developed a range of our own software called JetTrac, and we also partner with best-of-breed solutions and technologies like Adobe, and that's as an Adobe National Solutions partner, we became expert in smart PDF forms, which is a part of our solution that we deliver. We also have over 25 years experience in software that helps contractors to run their business. All right, so today we're going to be talking about JetTrac Field Service Automation, and really it was developed so for any type of contractor that has field technicians that go out into the field to do their work. It's really made up of two parts. JetTrac Field Service, which is the part that helps the field technicians out in the field, and then JetTrac Job Master Pro, which is the part that really helps contractors run their business in the office. Today we'll be focusing on the field part of it, the JetTrac Field Service side of it, and in our next webinar we'll be doing a more deep dive on the office side of it. And in our last webinar, we did an overview of both, and that is available if you've missed it and you want to kind of go back and see that. I'll give you links to that later in the presentation. So really, we customize the solution specifically for the contractors, you know, with price books and material lists and office tools specifically for the different types of contractors. I think today we're going to be showing more electrical, but you know, we work with plumbing, heating and cooling, and HVAC contractors, fire inspection, video surveillance, underground storage tanks. So really any kind of contractor we can work with them. And our customers typically have told us that there's a lot of inefficiencies that they find before they come to use our solution. Scheduling and dispatching and knowing where their field techs are and things like that can be a big issue. The field techs have to come into the office every morning to pick up paperwork, drop it off in the evenings, and that can be rather inefficient. Paperwork itself, if you're using a paper solution, can be very inefficient. You know, people have to fill in data into lots of fields that we already have that data, or they have to keep writing it multiple times. The handwriting can be a bit of a problem. You know, they're not great with handwriting. The amount of data that they enter when they have to handwrite it can be not the greatest. They often leave things out, and if they've got to do calculations and things like that, they can make errors. And then, you know, they've got to take photographs, that they have to have a separate camera and take the photographs and try and merge that all into the same paperwork and keep it all together. And we even hear that paperwork just doesn't make it in sometimes, it gets lost. Now, once that paperwork gets back to the office has to rekey all that into the system they're using there. If they can't read the handwriting or if there's stuff missing, they've got to go back and forth with the text, and that can be very inefficient. And then in the office, I know costing, pricing, and quoting can be a big deal, and keeping prices updated and things like that. But we'll get to that all in our next webinar. Today, we're going to focus on how we kind of do things and how we improve things in the field for field technicians. So the field technician will get a package on his mobile device that is pre-populated with all the information we already have and the information they need in order to do their job. So it makes it a whole lot easier for them to complete the work in the field. They can use any device, and whichever device they're using, the system will use the input capabilities of that device. For example, speech to text or voice to text. So that eliminates the bad handwriting piece of it. You can easily capture photos and signatures, and you can make annotations if you need to on the Smart PDF or the Smart Form solution. You can collect on site, and really we just make it very easy for them to do their jobs. And there's two kind of input options. The JetTrac Mobile, which is really designed specifically for smartphones or phones, and we've designed it because it can sometimes be hard to fill in a smart form on a phone. But if you have smart forms and you'd prefer to do it, just work with the forms that you used to, you can do that on a tablet. Much easier to do the smart forms, and you can build a lot of intelligence into both options, like calculations and things like that into both options. We have a set of smart form templates that we come with the solution typically, but if you're using a paper form today that you want, we can convert that into a form so your technicians are very familiar with it. And then also when we develop the JetTrac Mobile piece, that is really designed to make it easy for them to do, but really what it's doing is populating this smart form in the background, so you still have that smart form as a document of record. On the JetTrac Mobile side, we can also kind of brand it for your, if your corporate colors are blue, we'll make everything blue. If they're red, we can make them red. We can do really customize these to fit your branding and any form that you might be using. So without any further ado, I'm going to hand this over to Dan and stop talking and let you guys see this, and Dan will give you do a demonstration. So over to you, Dan.
Thank you, John. This is Dan Roth. I manage the tech team at Pro Technology. And like John said, we're going to focus today on data collection in the field. What are the most efficient ways that we can help subcontracting companies collect the data? So I'm going to show a couple different devices, but everything we do is all about how to take advantage of the mobile devices that we have. So smartphones, tablets, smartwatches, and how do we have this, we call it the dance between the office and the field and back. So I'm going to be showing several different things here, but I'm going to start with the calendar. So as part of our process, when we do a dispatch, we create a calendar event. So on any device, now I'm showing it on my PC, but this can be shown on your phone, on your tablet, even on smartwatches, will alert you when something is coming up. So if I just click on one of these, I just have a few sample ones here, then I can go right to the details of what has been dispatched. So we may have an address here that we could then do Google Maps to get directions. We have whatever the description is on what needs to be done for this particular job. And then we have some links. So I'm going to click on a couple of these links. So the first one I'm going to show you is what we call the Mobile Job Center. So the Mobile Job Center is how each technician can have on any device. I'm showing on my PC. I'm going to show it next on my phone to have an interface with all jobs that have been dispatched to them. And in here, we will be able to drill into actually collecting the data for it. I'm going to show that on my phone itself. I just wanted to show you that this mobile job center can come up on any device. Before I go to my phone, I wanted to show you just another view of the calendar. So let's say that you've got a group of technicians that you are dispatching jobs to. And in the office, you want to be able to see all of the jobs in one view. So this happens to be a day view for a group of 5 technicians. And we can click on any of these jobs to bring up the details, just like I showed before. So hopefully that kind of makes sense to you there. What I'm going to do now is to go to my phone. So I'm going to go here. So this is, I happen to have an iPhone. And so you'll see, kind of familiar things here. And what I'm going to do is show you the same mobile job center on my phone. And give me just a second. Okay, so this would be bookmarked for the technician, because each technician is going to have their own mobile job center with just the jobs that are shown for them. So in this interface, we're able to do some sorting. So we can sort by job number. So if you see at the top this job number 100003, I'll just say 3 and then 2, then 1. So if I just touch on job num, then it sorts it by job number. I can sort by job date. So here's 525, 527, and so on. I can sort by customer. So here's Dean Ginger, Dean Weatherston, Jay Heskett, John Daintree, Lowe's, Simi Valley, etc. All right. Within the mobile job center, we can control when you're done with the job, and if you wish to visually display that this job is done, you can just hit the done button. So on my mouse, I'm just going to point here, and then with my finger, I will just press on done, and it will turn then that job green. Now, if later you decide, or you did this by accident, or that there's additional work that needs to be done and you want to visually turn this back to the other color, whatever that is, and we can control these colors, I can just touch on the in work, and that will then revert the color back. If you're completely done with this and there's no reason to have this in here as well at all, then you can just touch the remove button. So I'm going to touch this on the Dean Ginger. I'm just going to hit remove. That has now removed it from the interface. Okay, so then what the technician would do is they would just touch on this box right here. So I'll just point with my mouse, and then I'll touch with my finger. And this will bring up the JetTrac Mobile interface. So this interface allows us to completely customize how the data is collected. And the way that is efficiently done, we organize the data into different sections. So I've got a section here called Job and Customer Info. So I'll just touch that, and then it just drops down the fields here. It's got the customer information, the job location, the description, who the contact is, and so on. So I can just keep on scrolling, or I can just hit the up arrow and collapse it. So we're expanding and collapsing as we need to. So then I can touch the tech time, and then I can put in the hours. So typically this would be done after, at the end of the job. So let's say that this worker ID of CAC has done 4 hours. The next thing we can do is touch on tech notes. So what I'm going to do here is just dictate some notes here. So voice to text is a really great tool that you have for being able to enter data onto mobile devices. So I'm just going to hit my microphone down here on the bottom and just dictate some job notes. You know, this. So I'm playing the role as the technician now. What did I do in this job? So here we go. Replaced open splices in the basement for ceiling lights, period. New line. Checked out foyer lights and switches, period. New line. Checked out cafeteria lights and switches, period. So let's say that's all we wanted to do. And before I turned off the microphone, it captured a couple more words. So I'll just correct that. If there's any other corrections that are necessary here, you know, we can just go in and do whatever we want to do in order to make this complete. What our customers have told us is this capability of voice to text allows the technician to very easily enter more complete job notes that are helpful then in the back end. And we'll talk about this on the next webinar. So all of these history notes that we call it are then put back in JetTrac Job Master Pro and then are available the next time a technician is dispatched for a different job for the same customer. They can see exactly what was done on the previous job or however many other jobs that have been made available to look at the job notes. I hope that makes sense. Then here, so speaking of the job notes, this is what I'm talking about. So this maybe is a history of what's been done in the past. See, it's very extensive here. You can have as little or as much prior job note history as you want to have. That's under your complete control from Job Master Pro. There's legal notices here that can be displayed. There's check boxes. So the check boxes are a way, or the way on how the technician can communicate back to the office different things, like different statuses, different actions that need to be taken. Depending on what they check here, then there's different things that are triggered back at the office automatically and programmatically. So we can say, okay, this job is completed, or I need to do a follow-up, or maybe I've collected on site and I want to put in a check number. Let's say we want to send an email to the customer. Maybe there's some materials that need to be ordered. So let's say this job is not completed yet. I need to order materials. So there's other parts of this that will indicate to the office what materials need to be ordered in order to complete that job. Then here's totals here that are automatically put in based on the labor and the materials that are selected. Then I'm just going to take a couple photos. So the purpose of this section is to be able to take some photos maybe of before and after, what it looked like before, like let's say if it's plumbing, maybe it's a faucet that's leaking. If it's electrical, it's some control, your main panel that needs something done to it. So I'm just going to take a photo of one of my monitors here. I'll use that photo. Then I can add some information. I'll just touch my microphone. This is a photo of my monitor in case this is important for the office. And I can take another photo. I'll take one of my phone and so on. I think you get the point. Then you can hand the mobile device to the customer when the job is done, and they can sign it. So just with my finger, I'll just do a signature. So there's one part here that I haven't covered yet. So let me cover that now. I'm going to cover it really on my iPad. So this is the material list. So this is a very critical part of T&M jobs where there's parts that are used that needs to be billed to the customer. So I'm just going to touch on material list here, and this material list will come up. It's got item number, it's got item description, you can put in quantities. But what I'm going to do at this point is I'm just going to stop showing on my phone. I'll stop mirroring. And I'm going to now turn to my iPad. But this could be, any tablet. So I'm going to go to screen mirroring. It could be an Android tablet. So it's now connecting to my Air server, and there it is. Okay. Okay. So here's my tablet. This is what John was talking about in that one slide that's kind of comparing. We've got two different ways on entering data. You can do it on any mobile device, but if it's a full-size form, which I'm going to show you here in a couple minutes, that's probably better done on a tablet just because of the size of the screen. But what I'm going to do here is just open my email and go to one of these emails. And so I wanted to show you this as an example of an email that the technician would get that would have all the information that's completely configurable, all the information they would need to do that job. So we have here, fill out attached field sheet, and we have a link. We have a link to the material list, and we have a link to the mobile job center. So I'm going to go ahead and just touch here on the mobile job center and bring this up. And if you remember, I had, let me just sort here. So I had showed this mobile job center on my PC and on my phone. So I just wanted to show you this can be on any device. So then what I'm going to do here is go to the material list on my iPad. So here what I can do is scroll through or do searches for what materials I want to use. So again, we can do voice to text and be able to search based on a description, based on an item number, or based on a category. So what I'm going to do here is just touch on these three dots. With my mouse, I'll just point to where I'm going to touch with the three dots and just go into find. And I am going to search for just kind of something random here. I'm going to touch my microphone, white baffle. And then it goes right to the first occurrence of white baffle. Now, if you had multiple occurrences of this, then you can just touch in an area that just goes to the next occurrence until you get to the one that you want. So let's say that I'm using white baffle here, and one thing I'm going to do is just increase the size of my description column, so then I can see what I want to enter here. And so let me go back to my white baffle. Let's say there's 3 of those that I'm going to enter. Okay, let's go back to find, and let's find based on an item number. So I've got an item number of, and I'll just go to my microphone. I could type it as well, 29621. And it goes right to 29621. I'll just point out with my mouse right here. So I'm going to touch in the quantity and say, okay, that's a quantity of 4. And the other way we can do it is that we have, you'll see here, there is, let me touch out of it. Anything in yellow are section headings. So this is the category of materials here. So I'm just going to scroll up so I'm at the top. It doesn't really matter. And I'm going to just go to my find again. And I am going to search for grounding. And it goes right to the grounding section. So let's say I need 3 of those. I need 4 of those. And let's say that I'm done now. One of the things that we want to do is to make sure that we've captured everything that is here. So I'm just going to touch on the quantity column and then just select I want to sort. So if I now go to the top, so there's some quantities here, and then you'll see here on the right, there's a total. So we're keeping track of the total materials, because then if we need to collect on site, then that could be important. If you're not collecting on site, then this information is recorded in the JetTrac Mobile interface, and it is then sent back to the office. Okay, so that's what I wanted to cover on the JetTrac Mobile interface. And if you have questions, we're going to have a Q&A time at the end that you can ask any questions that you want. What I'm going to do now is switch the discussion to how we capture data on JetTrac Smart Forms. So these are PDF forms. And like John said, any form that you have, we can make into an intelligent, smart PDF form that's fillable. We can scan the form. We can take, if it's a Word document or some other format, we can then create a PDF and then make the fields fillable and allow those forms to be dispatched out to a field technician to fill out. I'm going to show you an example of a type of work order that we have here. I'm going to go to my email, and I'm just going to open up an email here that I have a PDF attached. So I'm just going to touch on this PDF and open it up in this program called PDF Expert. Okay, so this is an example of a smart PDF form. So what I'm going to do here is really emulate what I did in the JetTrac Mobile interface that normally would be used on a smartphone. But I'm going to do this now on a tablet right in this PDF form itself. So let's say the first thing I'm going to do is go to enter some materials. So I am going to, you'll see on the right-hand side here, we've got section headings. So this is just like what we saw a couple minutes ago with those yellow highlights. So here we have bookmarks, and I'm going to go to plates, and it goes right to the plates section. And let's say I need 4 plates. And then I'm going to go to plastic boxes, and it goes here. And let's say I also need 4 of those. I'm going to go to devices right here. And let's say I need 1 of those. And let's say the technician didn't have something in their truck, but they could run to Lowe's or what, whatever store that they can pick up something. I'm going to go to items not listed right here, and I'm going to just add something. So I'm just going to say it's item number 1. I got 3 of those. They cost $4.25, and these are bulbs. Let's say I just had to go to Lowe's to pick those up. So let's say these are the materials that I had used in this job. What I want to do now is to make sure that I have accurately reflected all the materials. In my bookmarks, I'm going to touch on tally sheet. And then in the tally sheet, I'm just going to touch on this button called tally sheet. And what that's going to do is to go to all of the materials that I selected and display them here. So if I've missed something, I can then go back to whatever the sections are, select more materials, refresh this tally sheet until I'm done. So this has the quantity, it's got the price. So now we know that we can accurately reflect in the work order itself. So let me go back to what we call the cover page here and be able to have that data there. So you see there's a material total field right here. Before I do that, I'm going to enter some labor. So I'm going to select here, today is May 25, and I have, let's say, 4 hours right here. And let's say I had a helper, also May 25, and that helper was here for 2 of the 4 hours. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is just hit calculate. So the material total, 49, if I zoom in here, $49.84, $350 of labor based on the chargeable rates for the main person who's doing the job, the main technician, and then their helper. If there was sales tax here, then we have in this field sheet that we call it. We have the sales tax percentage, so it automatically calculates the sales tax, and we now have a job total. We could collect on site if we wanted to. So let me go back to these checkboxes that I had shown in our JetTrac Mobile interface. So let's say we just touch the job is completed, that we want to send an invoice, we want to maybe order some materials. But I also want to show here the tech notes. So this is just like I showed in the JetTrac Mobile. I'm just going to dictate a couple lines here. So let me just hit my microphone. Replaced open splices in the basement for ceiling lights, period. New line. Checked out foyer lights and switches, period. That's how easy it is to do that. Let's say then that you want to capture signatures. So let's say I just touch in this field and go signature. And if it's a customer signature, I can just touch there and then just capture my signature. It would put it right in there. And then I could just hit submit. And I know we're running out of time, but I could take photos here. So we actually, I won't do any right now, but here's the photo page. You can just touch on a photo, take the photo. Those photos would then flow back to the office and be linked to that job. Okay. I think that is what I wanted to show. I'm now going to turn it back to John so he can wrap up and do some Q&A. So John, I'm going to stop sharing my screen and back to you. And you're not on mute.
All right, thanks, Dan. Great job. And as Dan said, we try to keep these things to about half an hour. We sometimes run a little long, so we will be recording this and we'll send out the recording if you do need to go, but we'll get done here in just a few more minutes. So let's talk about the kind of the benefits of the solution. So really, we're eliminating all the problems that are associated with paper. If you're using a paper solution today, the technician gets a pre-populated package. You can really build all kinds of validations and required fields and things like that into either of the forms so that you don't have to take a calculator out to work things out. We're eliminating that double data entry, both in the field where the technician, things like the customer name and information we already have is already in the form. And then when it gets back to the office, obviously, they don't have to rekey. It just goes all the way through, and we'll show you that in the next webinar. We're improving your materials. Nothing gets forgotten. You can update the inventories very easily, handling your time cards, labor management. And then all of that goes back to the office and is handled there. So you're kind of improving the job management and the job profitability in the office. And as I said, we'll show you that in the next webinar. All right, so we do have this upcoming webinar coming up next month, and hopefully you'll be able to join that. For those of you that this is your first time attending our webinars, we do have the webinar from a couple of weeks back, 3 weeks back, and we'll send out an email with the links. With these links here, you can either watch it on YouTube if you're interested, or you go to the Pro Technology site in our knowledge base. But we'd also like to hear from you on what other things you'd like to see in the webinars. As I said, next month on June 15th, we are going to do how we streamline and de-stress the office from all of the stuff that's coming back from the field. But there's so much more we can do out in the field. There's all kinds of things we can, as Dan mentioned, we can have customized forms. We can take your existing paper forms and do them. We can help with all kinds of things. And similarly in the office, there's a lot that we can do there. One of the big topics we've been working with a few customers on, or a few potential customers at the moment, is this certified payroll and for union shops and things like that. So if there's any webinar that you're interested in, let us know about it, please, and we'll put those webinars together. Okay, I now need to try and unmute everybody. I've lost that button. Where's that mute everybody and unmute Dan, can you unmute everyone from where you are? Because I can't see it.
Yep, I just unmuted all.
Okay, so I've unmuted everybody that's here in case we have any questions. So do we have any questions out there? Anybody got a question? You can also type them in the chat box, and I don't see any there. But does anybody have a question?
Yeah, I've got one. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, Jack. Jack, I can hear you. Thanks.
Yeah. Sometimes we're out of range of the internet. Does your program work offline so I could still use it?
A great question. Thanks, Jack. Yeah, so as long as the field technician is connected sometime, typically it's first thing in the morning, they'll download all their job information and everything. They basically set up that mobile device with all the information. Then they leave and they go out into the field. And yeah, if they're in a place where they don't have connectivity anymore, they'll still be able to complete their job and do everything. And then once they finish that job, or at the end of the day, as soon as they get back to their house or stop at the Starbucks for lunch and get connected, that data will come straight back to the office. So yes, they have to connect in order to make sure they've got all the job data on their device, and they have to connect to make sure it gets back. But in between, it's no problem. They can be offline.
Oh, it's okay.
That answer your question?
That's good. Yeah, thank you.
And this is Dan. I just wanted to add one more thing. I mean, we're a connected society. So, I mean, we understand people in remote areas may not have connectivity all the time, but I think in the future, it will only be better connected, as we go. All
right. Well, we went a little over. I apologize for that again, but it does seem that most of you stayed on. If we don't have any other questions, I'll give it another second. Anybody else with a question? I'm not seeing any in the chat or anybody asking. So I'll say thank you very much for attending. We do appreciate this, giving us your time. We will send out a link to a recording of this in case you want to share it with anybody else at your office, or if you want to watch it again. And we'll also have the links to the older recording. And I'll also actually send links to this PowerPoint slide deck or a PDF of this PowerPoint slide deck in case you want to work that. Look at that again. All right. Well, thank you, everybody. No more questions. Thanks. We'll see you in about 3